Music isn't just sound, it's emotion, history, and passion captured in strings and wood. But what happens when that passion comes with $1 million price tag? From legendary performances that define generations to rare craftsmanship that can't be replicated, some guitars have transcended their roles as instruments to become priceless works of art. In today's video, we're diving into the world of luxury, legacy, and pure musical magic as we count down the top 10 most expensive guitars in the world. Each of these masterpieces carries a story of the artists who played them, the songs that changed the world, and the collectors who paid fortunes to own a piece of music history. Whether it's Kurt Cobain's haunting acoustic, Jimi Hendrix's fiery Stratocaster, or Eric Clapton's iconic Blackie, these guitars aren't just worth millions, they're symbols of timeless creativity and emotion. So plug in, tune up, and get ready to explore the guitars that made history and cost more than a mansion. Kurt Cobain's 1959 Martin D-18E. $6 million. Kurt Cobain's 1959 Martin D-18E isn't just a guitar. It's a piece of rock history frozen in time. Built by Martin, a brand known for its superior acoustic craftsmanship, this instrument was one of the first acoustic electric hybrids ever made. Damn. But what truly makes it legendary isn't just its design or rarity. It's the story it carries and the soul that once strummed its strings. In November 1993, during Nirvana's MTV Unplugged in New York session, Cobain chose this guitar to deliver one of the most hauntingly beautiful performances in music history. The show stripped away the band's grunge distortion and left only Cobain's raw voice, emotion, and vulnerability. With songs like About a Girl, The Man Who Sold the World, and All Apologies, he transformed the Martin D-18E into a vessel of pain, nostalgia, and fragile humanity. The performance became one of Nirvana's defining moments, and tragically, one of Cobain's last major appearances before his death in 1994. The guitar itself carries Cobain's personal modifications. A Bartolini pickup installed by his technician, and signs of heavy where that mirror the chaos of short life. When it went up for auction in 2020, it fetched an astounding $6 million, breaking all previous records. The buyer wasn't just purchasing an instrument, but a symbol of an era, a voice of a generation that found beauty in imperfection and meaning in melancholy. Today, the Martin D-18E stands as the most expensive guitar ever sold, but its real value lies far beyond its price tag. It represents the heart of the 1990s grunge movement and the eternal spirit of Kurt Cobain. A reminder that true art, once touched by emotion, never fades. Fender A Reach Out to Asia Stratocaster. $2.07 million. The Fender A Reach Out to Asia Stratocaster is one of the most remarkable guitars ever created. Not just because of its craftsmanship, but because of the unity and compassion it represents. Produced in 2004, this white Fender Stratocaster was transformed into a symbol of hope after the devastating Indian Ocean tsunami that struck in December of that year. Rather than being known for a single artist or performance, its fame comes from the collaboration of some of the greatest legends in rock history who joined together for a noble cause. The guitar bears the signatures of an astonishing lineup of musical icons: Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, Brian May, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Paul McCartney, Jeff Beck, Pete Townsend, Sting, Tony Iommi, and David Gilmour, among others. Each autograph represents decades of musical genius, making the instrument a once-in-a-lifetime collectible. It wasn't just a display piece, it became a global message of solidarity, proving that music can bring people together in times of tragedy. When the guitar was auctioned in Qatar in 2005, it fetched an incredible $2.07 million, with all proceeds donated to the Reach Out to Asia charity founded by Shakamayasa Al-Thani. The funds went directly to rebuilding schools and supporting survivors of the tsunami across affected countries. Beyond its staggering price tag, the Reach Out to Asia Stratocaster holds immense emotional and cultural value. It stands as a testament to how the power of music extends beyond entertainment. It can heal, unite, and inspire change. While most guitars become famous through the songs they help create, this one became legendary through the lives it helped rebuild. proving that sometimes the greatest music is made in the spirit of giving. David Gilmour's Black Fender Stratocaster, $3.975 million. David Gilmour's Black Fender Stratocaster, affectionately known as the Black Strat, is one of the most iconic guitars in rock history, a true symbol of Pink Floyd's golden era. First purchased in 1970 at Manny's Music in New York, this Strat became Gilmour's trusted companion through decades of groundbreaking performances and studio sessions. Its deep, expressive tone helped shape some of the most memorable guitar sounds ever recorded. The Black Strat played a central role in Pink Floyd's most legendary albums, The Dark Side of the Moon, I Wish You Were Here, Animals, and On the Wall. From the soulful bends in A Comfortably Numb to the atmospheric textures of Shine On You Crazy Diamond, this guitar carried the emotional weight of Gilmour's signature style. Smooth, melodic, and hauntingly expressive. Every note that flowed from it seemed to tell a story, capturing the essence of both the man and the band's progressive sound. Over the years, Gilmour modified the guitar multiple times, changing pickups, necks, and hardware to perfect its tone and playability. Despite these alterations, it retained its unmistakable identity. Sleek, minimalist, and powerful, it became more than just an instrument. It was an extension of Gilmour's soul and a vital element in Pink Floyd's timeless soundscapes. In 2019, Gilmour made a deeply meaningful decision. He auctioned the Black Strat through Christie's to raise funds for Client Earth, a charity dedicated to environmental protection. The sale fetched an astonishing $3.975 million, setting a record and turning the guitar into a beacon of both musical and humanitarian legacy. Today, the Black Strat represents not only the pinnacle of rock artistry, but also the spirit of generosity and environmental awareness, proof that even the most powerful sounds can echo far beyond music itself. John Lennon's Gibson J160E, $2.04 million. John Lennon's Gibson J160E is far more than a vintage guitar. It's an artifact from the very dawn of modern pop culture. Purchased in 1962, this sunburst acoustic electric guitar was one of two identical models bought by Lennon and George Harrison, marking the beginning of the Beatles' meteoric rise to fame. It was used during the band's early studio sessions at Abbey Road, including the recordings of A Love Me Do, A Please Please Me, and the groundbreaking hit I Wanna Hold Your Hand. Every chord that Lennon strummed on this guitar helped shape the sound that would define a generation. The Gibson J160E combined the warmth of an acoustic body with an electric pickup, giving Lennon and Harrison a new creative edge that perfectly complemented their evolving songwriting. Its distinctive tone can be heard across countless early Beatles tracks, blending rhythm and melody in a way that became instantly recognizable. This instrument didn't just accompany the Beatles' music, it helped create it. However, the guitar's story took a mysterious turn in 1963 when it went missing during a Beatles concert at London's Finsbury Park. For decades, its whereabouts remained unknown, becoming one of rock's great lost treasures. Then in 2014, the guitar miraculously resurfaced in the possession of a musician in California who had unknowingly owned it for years. After authentication by experts, it was auctioned and sold for a staggering $2.04 million. Beyond its material worth, Lennon's Gibson J160E stands as a tangible symbol of the birth of Beatlemania. Jimi Hendrix's 1968 Fender Stratocaster. $2 million. Jimi Hendrix's 1968 Fender Stratocaster is one of the most legendary guitars in rock history, an instrument that redefined what was possible in music. This white Stratocaster, played by Hendrix at the Woodstock Festival in 1969, became an enduring symbol of rebellion, freedom, and artistic genius. When Hendrix took the stage that August morning, the world witnessed not just a performance, but revolution in sound. His electrifying rendition of The Star-Spangled Banner remains one of the most iconic moments in music history. Through distorted feedback, wailing bends, and fiery improvisation, Hendrix transformed America's national anthem into a raw commentary on the chaos of the era, from the Vietnam War to the counterculture movement. The Stratocaster became his voice, and every shriek and scream of its strings carried emotional weight, passion, and defiance. The 1968 Stratocaster itself was a typical Fender model, but in Hendrix's hands, it became something transcendent. A left-handed guitarist playing a right-handed instrument strung in reverse. Hendrix broke every rule of convention. His experimental use of distortion, feedback, and effects, pedals created tones that no one had ever heard before. This single performance cemented both Hendrix's genius and the guitar's immortality. After Hendrix's death in 1970, the guitar passed through several collectors before being acquired by Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft and a lifelong fan of Hendrix's music. It now resides at the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle, Hendrix's hometown, where it continues to inspire generations of musicians and fans, valued at around $2 million. Hendrix's Woodstock Stratocaster isn't just an expensive instrument. It's a cultural relic. It represents a moment when music transcended entertainment and became a form of protest, artistry, and pure, unfiltered expression. Peter Green and Gary Moore's 1959 Les Paul Standard, $2 million, the 1959 Gibson Les Paul Standard that passed through the hands of Peter Green and later Gary Moore, is one of the most storied and sonically distinctive guitars ever made. Revered by musicians and collectors alike, this instrument became legendary not just for who played it, but for the unique tone it produced. A tone that helped define the sound of blues rock during its golden era. Peter Green, the founding member of Fleetwood Mac, acquired the Les Paul in the mid-1960s while he was playing with John Mayall and the Bluesbreakers, the same band that once featured Eric Clapton. Green's approach to the guitar was soulful, emotional, and raw, and his Les Paul matched that perfectly. However, what made this particular guitar so extraordinary was its accidental modification. The neck pickup was installed out of phase, creating a haunting, nasal-like tone that became Green's signature sound. Songs like A Black Magic Woman and Albatross showcase this unmistakable voice, giving the guitar an aura of mystery and magic. When Green later passed the instrument on to Gary Moore, the Irish guitar virtuoso of Thin Lizzy, it gained a new life and audience. Moore used it extensively during his solo career, especially on blues classics like A Parisian Walkways and A Still Got the Blues. He once described the guitar as having a voice of its own, and fans agreed. Its emotional resonance seemed almost human. After Moore's passing in 2011, the guitar was sold to a private collector for around $2 million, a price that reflects both its impeccable tone and its iconic lineage. Today, the Peter Green Gary Moore Les Paul stands as a sacred artifact in rock history, a bridge between two generations of blues legends, each pouring their heart and soul into 6 strings that continue to sing with timeless emotion. Eric Clapton's A Blackie Fender Stratocaster, $959,500. Eric Clapton's A Blackie Fender Stratocaster is not just one of the most famous guitars ever built, it's a true embodiment of the artist's craftsmanship, intuition, and emotional connection to his instrument. Unlike most legendary guitars, Blackie wasn't factory-made or custom-ordered. Instead, Clapton personally assembled it from the best parts of 3 different 1950s Fender Stratocasters, creating a one-of-a-kind masterpiece that became his musical partner for nearly 2 decades. The story of Blackie began in 1970 when Clapton purchased 6 vintage Strats from a guitar shop in Nashville for around $100 each. He gave 3 away to his friends, George Harrison, Pete Townsend, and Steve Winwood, and kept the remaining 3 for himself. Out of those, he handpicked the best components and combined them into one instrument. The result was Blackie, named for its sleek black finish, a guitar that felt, sounded, and responded exactly the way Clapton wanted. Throughout the 1970s and early 1980s, Blackie became Clapton's go-to guitar. It was used on many of his greatest hits, including Layla, The Cocaine, I Shot the Sheriff, and A Wonderful Tonight. The Strat's warm tone and smooth playability perfectly matched Clapton's blues-infused style, helping define his sound during his solo career. On stage, Blackie became an extension of his soul, instantly recognizable in his hands and immortalized through countless performances. By 1985, after years of heavy use, the guitar was retired due to wear. In 2004, Clapton decided to auction Blackie at Christie's to raise funds for his Crossroads Center, a rehabilitation facility he founded in Antigua. The guitar sold for an astonishing $959,500, tying a record at the time. Today, Blackie remains a symbol of Clapton's legacy, a fusion of talent, innovation, and generosity. It represents not only his contribution to blues and rock, but also his belief that music, like charity, has the power to heal, Bob Dylan's 1964 Fender Stratocaster, $965,000 Bob Dylan's 1964 Fender Stratocaster is more than a guitar. It's a symbol of transformation, rebellion, and one of the most defining moments in modern music history. When Dylan stepped onto the stage at the Newport Folk Festival in 1965 with this very Stratocaster, he didn't just plug in an electric guitar, he electrified an entire generation. That performance marked a seismic shift in the music world, bridging the gap between traditional folk and the emerging sound of rock. Before that night, Dylan was known as the poetic voice of acoustic protest songs, the troubadour of the civil rights movement. But at Newport, he broke tradition by performing a Maggie's Farm and a Rolling Stone, backed by an electric band. The audience's reaction was divided. Some booed, others cheered, but everyone knew they were witnessing history. The 1964 Fender Stratocaster became forever linked to that moment of artistic courage when Dylan dared to evolve, challenging the boundaries of what music could be. The guitar itself, a Sunburst Stratocaster, stayed with Dylan for a brief but pivotal period before it mysteriously disappeared, only to resurface decades later. In 2011, it was discovered in the possession of a family in New Jersey who had unknowingly kept it for nearly 50 years after Dylan's crew left it behind on a private plane. After authentication, it was confirmed to be the same instrument from that revolutionary Newport performance. In 2013, the guitar was sold at auction for $965,000, making it one of the most expensive and historically significant instruments ever sold. Its true value, however, lies beyond the price. It represents the moment music evolved from message to movement, when Bob Dylan's boldness redefined the sound and spirit of an entire generation. Keith Richards' 1959 Les Paul Standard, $1 million Keith Richards' 1959 Gibson Les Paul Standard is a cornerstone of rock and roll history, an instrument that helped forge the unmistakable sound of the Rolling Stones during their formative years. In the early 1960s, as the band was carving its identity in the London music scene, Richards' Les Paul became the sonic engine behind their gritty, blues-infused style. Its warm sustain, punchy tone, and natural resonance gave birth to the raw sound that would soon dominate the airwaves. The 59 Les Paul Standard is widely regarded as one of the finest guitars ever built, crafted during Gibson's golden era. The model is famous for its flawless balance between clarity and power, producing a tone that's both smooth and aggressive, perfect for the Stones' rebellious, swaggering energies. Richards used it during the band's earliest performances and on recordings that define the roots of their career, including hits like A the Last Time and I Can't Get No Satisfaction. Its unmistakable bite and depth gave those songs their enduring punch, setting the foundation for the band's evolution into rock legends. This particular Les Paul also holds historical importance because Richards was among the first major British guitarists to popularize the model, influencing countless musicians who followed. The instrument's presence on stage with the Stones combined with Richards' charismatic image, cigarette in mouth, guitar slung low, made it a visual and musical icon. Eventually, Richards parted with the guitar, and it later surfaced at auction, fetching around $1 million. Collectors and historians recognize it as not just a beautiful vintage instrument, but a tangible piece of rock heritage. The 1959 Les Paul Standard, once in Keith Richards' hands, embodies the spirit of rebellion, authenticity, and raw emotion that turned a young blues band into the greatest rock and roll band in the world. Jerry Garcia's a Wolf guitar. $1.09 million Jerry Garcia's Wolf guitar stands as one of the most iconic custom-built instruments in rock history. a perfect fusion of craftsmanship, innovation, and countercultural legacy. Designed by master luthier Doug Irwin in 1973, Wolf was created specifically for Garcia, the visionary frontman of the Grateful Dead, a band that became synonymous with the psychedelic rock movement of the 1960s and 1970s. This guitar wasn't just an instrument, it was an extension of Garcia's spirit, creativity, and technical brilliance. The Wolf was named after the small cartoon wolf sticker Garcia added to its body early on, a playful touch that later became an inlay on the guitar itself. Built from exotic woods, including curly maple and purple heart, it combined visual artistry with sonic versatility. Equipped with advanced electronics, including multiple pickups and effects controls, Wolf allowed Garcia to experiment freely with T1 and sustain, essential for the Dead's long improvisational live performances. Its sound ranged from crisp and clear to warm and soulful, perfectly matching the band's kaleidoscopic musical journeys. Garcia first played Wolf at a 1973 New York concert, and it quickly became one of his primary guitars throughout the mid-1970s. It appeared during countless Grateful Dead shows, becoming an integral part of their legendary live sound and communal energy. For fans, Wolf represented not only Garcia's artistry, but also the spirit of freedom and experimentation that defined an entire generation. After Garcia's death in 1995, Wolf changed hands several times before being auctioned in 2017, fetching an incredible $1.09 million. The proceeds went to the Southern Poverty Law Center, reflecting Garcia's enduring commitment to social justice and compassion. Today, Jerry Garcia's Wolf remains one of the most celebrated guitars ever made, a timeless symbol of creativity, individuality, and the boundless possibilities of music. These guitars stand as timeless artifacts of musical and cultural evolution. Instruments that transcend wood, strings, and sound to become living testaments of artistry and emotion. Each one carries the soul of its player and the echoes of an era that reshaped the way the world experiences music. From Jimi Hendrix's electrifying rebellion to Kurt Cobain's haunting introspection, from David Gilmour's ethereal solos to John Lennon's revolutionary melodies, these guitars have sung the soundtrack of human emotion, joy, pain, love, defiance, and hope. They are not merely tools for creating sound. They are vessels of expression that defined entire generations and movements. The wear on their fretboards and the scratches on their bodies are marks of history. Scars earned in the pursuit of truth through music. Whether played on a dimly lit stage or immortalized in a studio recording, each guitar tells a story of passion and purpose that continues to resonate long after the final note fades. Today, these masterpieces rest in museums, collections, and the hearts of those who understand their magic. They remind us that music is eternal, and that the connection between artist and audience can never be priced. The spirit of these guitars, their sound, their history, their emotion, lives on, inspiring new generations to pick up a guitar, chase a dream, and continue the legacy of those who changed the world one chord at a time.